Okay, second lesson this week is on perpendicular lines. If we take point P and flip it 90 degrees round, you'll notice the points change around and the B, the first point, the x coordinate becomes negative. So we change the coordinates round and the coordinate of the x coordinate becomes negative on this one. So that's just getting our 2 points. So we're looking at OP and OQ. So the gradient OP is B minus 0 over A minus 0. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1, so we get B over A. For this one, we get A minus 0 over negative B minus 0. So we get A over negative B. If we then multiply those two together, we do MOP times MOQ. We get B over A times A over negative B. You'll notice the B's cancel, the A's cancel, leaving you with negative 1. And that's because it's with algebra. We've solved it for all values. So for any perpendicular lines, the gradient, first gradient times the second gradient will always give you negative 1. So looking at a couple of examples. So it says write down the gradients which are perpendicular and parallel to the lines with gradients. So A 1/3, and B negative 5 over 4. So doing the parallel first because it's easy. Parallel lines have the same gradient. So for A, M para is 1/3, and for B, M para is negative 5 over 4. They haven't changed. For perpendicular lines, M1 times M2 equals negative 1. The easy tip, basically flip the fraction and change the sign. That's why you'll notice most of the 99.9% of the time when I'm doing gradients and other things, I leave it as a fraction because of this. Because you can literally just take 1/3, you flip it over, it becomes 3 over 1, and you change the sign. It was positive, it's now negative. And remember, 3 over 1 is just negative 3. Here, it was negative 5 over 4, you flip it over, it'll be 4 over 5. Change the sign, it was negative, it becomes positive. So looking at a second example here, P is negative 2, negative 1, R is 1, 5. Our opposite vertices of a rhombus, PQRS, find the gradient of the diagonal QS. So diagonals of a rhombus bisect each other at 90 degrees. In other words, they hit each other in half, cut each other in half at 90 degrees. So because we know they cut each other in half at 90 degrees, they are perpendicular. So we work out the gradient PR. So Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. So 5 minus minus 1 is 6, and 1 minus minus 2 is 3. So 6 over 3 is 2. Remember, that's still 2 over 1. So we flip it, 1 over 2, change the sign, so it's negative. So that's because they're perpendicular. If it asks you to show lines are perpendicular and you have the gradients, if you can times the two gradients together and get negative 1, then the two lines are perpendicular.